What's good, Internet? My name is Attack Slug, and welcome to a gameplay preview of a Case of Distrust, launching on Steam February the 8th, 2018, and sometime afterwards on mobile, and sometime after that on consoles, supposedly. As always, full disclosure, this copy of the game provided by the publisher. This is a historical narrative mystery game, part Sherlock Holmes, part Phoenix Wright. Let me kind of jump in here about maybe an hour into the game-ish and show you what it is. Sam Shipman had told me Green's letter was a fake. He said he'd phone me at Southern Coffee when he got the chance to look into Green's past. My last goal was to chase Green's bootlegging. Green's Vancouver wine that I'd tried at the Tin Spoon had spelled strongly of spice. Same as the wine Frankie told me was only grown in Napa. I had to go back to Southern Coffee and ask Frankie about that wine. So, there was a lot of reading in this game. The room was much smaller than I expected for a gangster's paradise. The only light came from the hanging lamps above the billiards table, and the haze of the smoke darkened the corners. So essentially, you're going from place to place here, and you are investigating. You are looking at the objects in the environment, and getting a brief description of those objects, like the lamp, or the billiards table, and you are also talking to folks and getting some information, like Tiny Paul here, who's playing billiards in the 20s during Prohibition, where alcohol is outlawed. This again? He chuckled. Look, if you want something, better ask me specific. So from there, you go into your notes, and you take notes on just about everything. So you can see I have a case summary here on the left-hand side, can kind of get a scroll through that and find out what I've been doing and what I kind of should be doing, or, you know, that kind of thing. I can cross off things here on my goals, and then I also have my actual evidence. Like, everything you click on that has a description is going to put into your evidence and could be used to solve this mystery. So I've been to a handful of locations here, etc., and then each person you talk to will give you a number of statements, and those statements can be used to investigate and ask about things. If I wanted to ask Tiny Paul here about Mrs. Green being a singer at the Tin Spoon, I will get a brief thing here on the left-hand side, and I can ask Tiny Paul about Lil Fanny, but he got me no new information. Just smiling jerk. Alright, don't ask him. We're going to put the plot here and resume where I picked up from when I left. At any point, you can kind of go here and look at your notes, and then I'm going to head out this door, back onto the street, back to the coffee shop, and ask Frankie about that stuff. Now, as you are traveling, first of all, very stylish. As you are traveling here, you can always talk to the guy driving the taxi. I don't know if that ever gives you any pertinent information for the game, or if it's just all flavor text. Let's talk to this guy in the taxi and see what he says. I started some idle banter with the young driver. You're my last ride for the day. After that, picking up my girl, heading over to Tightwad Hill for the game. I asked about Tightwad Hill. You don't know much about college ball, huh? That new stadium they built for Berkeley last year seats over 70,000. Marvel of modern construction, and the team ain't bad either. That's Memorial Stadium, I said. It cost over $1 million to build it. How is it related to any hill? Well, the geniuses built the stadium next to a large mound. Now, why would I pay good money just to get into the place when I can watch the whole game just fine from that hill? Seems others think that way too. So many of us, they dubbed it Tightwad Hill. The girls don't mind being outside? You kidding me? He laughed. The flappers love it up there. We can picnic and drink some gin without being cramped into wood benches. Suits both of us just fine. Well, I hope the home team takes it. Go sports, I said as we hopped in front of my destination. He grinned. Doesn't matter. It'll be a riot anyway. I thanked him and stepped out. And so we head back into kind of our base of operations here. Southern Coffee. It is a bit of a speakeasy, if you will, where you can kind of go for booze when you aren't supposed to be having booze here when there's Prohibition. Anyway, we got our main man Frankie here behind the bar. And we're going to ask him about some wine that we found. So, what's eating you, kid? Ask about the wine. So, we're going to go here into my, I want to say it's evidence. Let's see here. Tin Spoon wine bottle. A bottle of unlabeled wine sat on the table, When I sniffed, it smelled of strong spice. Well, you'll like this, I told him. Remember that wine you offered me? Oh, the Zinfandel you turned up your nose to? Where'd you say that grape was from? It's from here, California! Napa or Sonoma? Are you sure? Yes, Malone, the only place these grapes grow nowadays. And not Canada? I asked. What are you swinging at, Malone? Tiny Paul had a bottle of wine that tasted the exact same, that identical spice. He said it was from Green's bootlegging source from Vancouver. Malone, I'm telling you, he said, no wine elsewhere in the world has that spice. It ain't from Vancouver, and Green ain't getting it cheap. I nodded. Well, you just confirmed my hunch. Green's got no source. He must be swindling Tiny Paul and the entire Ferry gang, and I bet he'll run away with money. Frankie let out a long whistle in disbelief. I can't whistle, so I'm not gonna do it. Just then the phone rang. Frankie picked up with a, hello, right, and handed me the receiver, saying, Shipman? PC, he said, his excited voice crackling the speaker. Find anything on Green? I asked. Nothing, he said. I was puzzled. Then why'd you call? That's the idea. First got pinched for a brawl in the ferry building. That was in November 1920. Before that, no Connor Green anywhere in the bay. Strange, he continued. Has trouble staying out of a mess. Mixed up in something nearly every week. So only appearing a few weeks ago? That Oakland backstory is Swiss cheese. What are you thinking? Green's got a different past? I asked. Uh-huh, he said. Guess that he just got here in 1920 and never been straight about where he's from. Wait, I said. If Connor Green was a criminal in another town, easily some cop would recognize the name and send him back home. SFPD ain't that thick. Right, Shipman agreed. If it's the same name, could be his real identity disappeared in another town. I thought aloud. So he might have changed lives. Is there any way to confirm that? If Green fled, the local bulls would keep looking for him. But not if they thought he died. Get these cases sometimes where mobs are fake a death to escape a burg. Use a mangled stiff to do it. Someone unrecognizable. That way they get out of town without a chase. Got any mobs or deaths in 1920? I asked. A ton. Too many to look through. But a narrow search for me, a town he might be from, I could check a specific city's archive. Anything in your notes that tells us where he could be from? Do I have anything? I don't know. Discover Green's past. What evidence do I have that would be indicative of Green's past? In his house, I got St. Louis. St. Louis! He has tickets to St. Louis. Now, Mrs. Green, I might add, was in an opium days, because, you know, it was the 20s. Here we go. St. Louis. I found some tickets to St. Louis in Green's apartment, I told him. The missus was ruffled when I picked them up. I stayed on the phone while Shipman used another line to call his contact in the St. Louis Post-Dispatch. I was nursing a glass of gin when he got back to me. Lucky break, PC. Seems there's one that fits the bill. He read aloud an article from the St. Louis Dispatch dated October 8th, 1920. Gun battle at June's Diner. Gangster dead. Suspected bandit clubhouse scene of another shooting. A heated argument turned deadly Thursday as multiple shots rang inside June's Diner on 14th Street. Suspected hideout of Egan's Rats. A man was found dead at the scene, unidentified due to shotgun wounds to his face. Police suspect he is mobster Breg the Jester, who had hired a private eye to investigate threats on his life. Last month, Chief of Police Brannon said investigating gangster-on-gangster deaths was a waste of time. And the discovery of the threats leads many to believe police won't look further into the case. Hold on, I said. This Breg character hired a private detective? I'm a PI. Seems police are quick to forget a case. If they got a reason to think it's just gangster violence. This lines up with Green, I said. Gets better. Breg's first name? Connor. I cursed loudly through the phone. I continued with my theory. And your story says this Breg was deeply indebted. So maybe Green's just waiting in San Francisco until he's got enough dough to skip town and go home. He has some bootlegging businesses? Shipman asked. Why would he leave that behind? No, I shook my head. His wine is complete bunk. It's local stuff, not any Canadian route he might be claiming. I didn't know why he pulled a fast one until now. Returning brag to St. Louis could be huge. Swing by the station, we'll iron it all out. I agreed and slammed the receiver down on its pegs. Phones used to have pegs. It seemed I needed to make my way back to the station. And that, my friends, is where we will leave things here in a case of distrust. Launching on PC, February the 8th. I think it's pretty cool. If you like the Sherlock Holmes games, and you like the Phoenix Wright games, and you don't mind reading a lot, this thing seems pretty neat. I don't know the price, I don't know how long it is, but certainly it is oozing with style. Anyway, I'm a Tax Slug. Thanks for watching. More videos every day. I'll see you next time, right here on this channel. And I'm out.